"You're coming with me." The words didn't sound like a command, they sounded like a lifeline, urgent, warm, and absolute. He stood there in $1,000 suit, crouched in the slush and snow, holding out a hand to a woman curled on the frozen sidewalk like a wilted flower. She looked up, her lips blue, shaking too hard to speak. Around them, New York bustled like nothing was happening. Cars sped past, phones lit faces, but no one else stopped. No one even noticed her, except him, except Daniel Mercer. Daniel wasn't the kind of man who noticed anything anymore. Not people, not snow, not the passing world. He had built an empire in silence, real estate, stocks, boardrooms lit with glass and ego. Billionaire by 35, alone by 36. His life was full of everything, except meaning. But on that night, walking out of a gala, his car waiting at the curb, something pulled him to look left, and he saw her. Barefoot, in scrubs, her knees pressed to her chest, back against a bus shelter smeared with old ads. The city lights shimmered off her skin like she didn't belong in this world. And maybe she didn't. He crouched without hesitation. "Miss, you okay?" She didn't answer. Her arms were red, frostbitten, her hair stuck to her face in frozen strands. He shrugged off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. Still, she said nothing. Then, after a long moment, she looked at him, and in the smallest voice said, "Missed the last bus." He should have walked away, called someone, sent a driver. But he couldn't. There was something about her, a quiet strength buried beneath the cold. "You're coming with me," he repeated. This time she nodded. Her name was Claire, nurse, ER. She had worked a double shift, 20 hours straight. Someone else had called out. A child had coded. An old man had died. She had given everything she had to strangers all day, and when she finally made it to the bus stop, the last one had already come and gone. Her phone was dead, her wallet gone. She was stranded in a snowstorm in paper-thin scrubs and silence. Daniel carried her to the car. She didn't protest, didn't flinch, only whispered, "I don't want charity." And he replied, "It's not charity, it's humanity." His voice broke when he said it, maybe because it was the first truly human thing he'd done in years. He didn't take her to a hotel. He took her to his home, a penthouse overlooking the skyline, all glass and firelight. She tried to stand on her own when they arrived, but her legs gave out. He lifted her gently, placed her on the couch, and disappeared into the kitchen. When he returned, she was crying. "I'm sorry," she said. "This is stupid. I should have said no." Daniel shook his head. "You're not stupid. You're exhausted. And this is just someone giving back." She slept for 10 hours. He sat nearby the entire time, laptop open but untouched. He couldn't explain it. This fierce protectiveness for someone he'd only just met. But when she finally woke, wrapped in a thick blanket and looking bewildered, he just smiled and asked, "Coffee?" Over the next few hours, she told him everything. About her little apartment in Queens. About her sister back home in Kansas, who thought she was crazy for staying in the city. About the patients she still remembered. The ones who lived and the ones who didn't. And Daniel, he told her nothing about money, about his businesses, about the world that bent to his will. He just listened, and for the first time in his life, he felt small. And it was freeing. When she stood to leave, she looked stronger. She refused his driver, but he insisted on walking her to the subway. Before she disappeared into the tunnel, she turned and said, "You didn't have to help me." "I didn't," he replied, "but I think I needed to." They didn't exchange numbers, no promises. Just a look, deep, real, unfinished. But Daniel couldn't forget her. He started showing up at the hospital, not in suits, not with fanfare, just coffee for the staff, blankets, supplies. He made donations under her name, quietly. She found out weeks later, only because her shift supervisor was crying in the break room, overwhelmed by what had arrived for their underfunded ward. When Claire confronted him, all he said was, "You gave your life to strangers." I figured it was time someone gave back. Months passed, and then one night, as she walked out into the cold again, bundled this time, boots on her feet, she saw him waiting by the curb. Just like the first night. Only this time, he didn't have to say a word. She walked straight into his arms. Because sometimes the right person shows up when you're too tired to stand. And sometimes the one moment you don't expect changes every moment after. Before we end this story, let us know in the comment, where are you watching from? So if this story touched you, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a karma in the comments below. Because kindness isn't weakness. It's the one thing that can save two people at once.